Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Javio, and on today's video we're going to be installing some spherical shifter cable bushings for my 92 Toyota MR2 Turbo here. I would say that spherical shifter bushings for an MR2 are probably one of the more must-have mods that you should probably do to your car. It really sort of tightens up the shifting on the transmission side of the cable, and it gives a lot more sort of articulation and a lot more of a direct feel in the shifter. So what I'm sort of talking about here is, I don't know if you can really see this here, but that is a shifter cable there, and that is a shifter cable there. This end of the shifter cable mounts onto this lever on a shaft. There's two washers that separate it, and there is a little cotter pin that holds it in there. Basically there's a little rubber bush inside the end of this, and what happens is over time those bushes wear out and can cause some play and some slack in the cable ends, like some side to side movement. Basically with installing some spherical shifter cable bushings, that will help to remove any deterioration and play that the rubber bush that's in their factory might have. So basically what we're going to do is we're just going to take the cables off the levers on the transmission, pop out the factory rubber bush that's still in there, put a spacer and the bearing on, and then chuck the cable over the top, and then it should be done. It's a pretty easy install, it's cheap to do, it shouldn't take more than 10 to 15 minutes at most, honestly. I have done most of the shifter mods you can to this car currently. I don't have a drop plate in the car, and I probably won't ever run one, but I have done the solid shifter base bushes on the inside of the car. I do have to rotate the square bushing that's on the transmission, which is up there somewhere. And the last thing for me to do was the spherical shifter cable bushings, which I'm going to do now. So this here is the kit that I bought from Prime MR2 or Prime Driven. That includes the spherical bearings, spacers and cotter pins needed to replace the rubber bushes that are on the car. I'll just show you what it looks like. So in the pack you get all this stuff here. So you get the two spherical bearings that look like this. It does have a lip on each side. You also get two spacers which go onto the lever rod first, and then you get two cotter pins to basically hold the bearing to the lever shaft. The way it works is you sort of put this on first, and then you put this on over the top, and the spacer at the bottom helps to give that extra sort of range of movement in the spherical bearing like this. Basically this is better than a soldered bearing because it moves with the natural motion of the cable as you're driving, but it removes any slop or play that the factory rubber bushing would get over time. I also forgot to mention that the kit does come with this little piece of sandpaper, I think it is. Basically what that's for is to sand down the rod that this shifter cable is attached to, remove any corrosion or something, so that the spherical bearing can slip on nicely and not bind up or anything like that. So I'll go ahead and get started on the install. I'll just take off the cables and the factory rubber bushings and see if I can get the new ones chucked on, and I'll show you what it looks like. So before I do anything, taking off the shifter cable here and the other one that's on top there is really simple. All you have to do is pull out this little cotter pin. Basically pull that cotter pin off, pull the washer off, and the cable will come out just like that. So you can see it's free and moving around. Now I've got the sandpaper. So I'm just going to test fit now to see whether the spacer and the bearing here will fit on nicely. Spacer fits on nice, and the bearing fits on there nicely as well. Right, so a bit of an update. It has been probably like half an hour or so since I started installing them, and I still haven't got them on the car yet properly because the bearing on the bottom lever was too loose and the bearing on the top was too tight, and I couldn't get the cotter pin into the one on the top, and the one on the bottom had too much play. And it was only then, after putting it all together and trying to figure out why the pins wouldn't go in, that I realized that the two spacers, I don't know if you can see that there, I'll just get you a better look. It was only then that I realized that the two spacers that are supplied with the kit are actually two different sizes. So one is smaller and one is bigger. The bigger one would go on the bottom lever, which is the one I was having some play with, and the one where I couldn't get the pin in, which was the top lever, would have the shorter spacer so that it has enough clearance for the pin to go through. I had this the other way around, so one was loose and the other one was too tight and I couldn't get it in. The kit didn't come with instructions, so bear with me there. I did give it a Google and I talked to some people and I managed to figure it out. But for anyone watching this, make sure you put the right spacers on the right levers, okay? Back to the install. Cool, so now that I've finally figured out my mistake and realized that the two spacers were different sizes, I've gone ahead and actually finished the install. I'll show you what it looks like. So you can see there, this is the bottom lever and the top lever is the one up there. So initially I had this spacer on the top one and vice versa, but now I've got them on the right ones. So basically you can see that I'll just zoom in a bit. You can see that it is the spacer, and then inside the shifter cable is the spherical bearing, and then you've got the cotter pin on that side. Same goes for the one on top, basically the exact same setup except it uses a shorter spacer. The fitment for the cotter pin on the top was pretty tight, so I did actually have to take the shorter spacer and grind it down on the linisher just for a couple of seconds, just to give it that little bit of extra clearance so that the pin could slide in nicely, and now it's all tight and all snug. And honestly, with my mistake aside, it all fit up pretty good, pretty nicely. The quality's quite good. I'm yet to lower the car down and check how it feels, but I'll go ahead and do that now and I'll let you know how I go. Alright, car's down, time to hop in and check. Squeeze in through the door. Alright. Right, so I've got you guys sitting on my passenger seat there. This is my first test using the shifter, not driving, stationary, with the new spherical shifter cables. So here goes. Oh, already just sitting here I can definitely feel the difference on how tight it feels. It feels a lot more solid and rigid, more direct. I can already tell this is going to feel really nice when I'm driving the car, when there's some sort of actual movement going on in the gearbox. But I can tell just by sitting here that moving the shifter forwards and back and side to side, it doesn't feel like it's binding up. It feels really smooth, direct and tight, which it didn't. It kind of felt a tiny bit sloppy before, but that's made a major improvement. And honestly, I would highly recommend to anybody who owns an MR2, if you haven't already, go pick up a spherical bearing kit for your shifter cables. They will definitely help. I mean, I can already tell just by sitting here that it's made a difference. It's cheap, it's easy to install. Don't make the same mistake I did. But yeah, in another video I'll probably go for a drive and I'll let you know how it feels after I've driven it. But yeah, that's probably going to do it for me tonight, everybody. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know what you thought of it. Give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already. I do have some more parts that need installing, and I've got some pretty interesting stuff that's going to be coming up sometime soon, hopefully. Thank you everyone for the support you guys have been giving me, I really appreciate it. Hopefully the next video isn't too far away. Stay tuned for the next one, and I'll see you all later. Peace.